Welcome everybody. I hope you all had nice lunch, and I hope with the session about Crimea River you will have a nice time of digestion of your lunch, and we will help you with our discussion in that process. So today we are going to discuss about two main things. One is the support for cultural field in different contexts, different countries. And the other theme that we are going to address today, actually, it's the relation between West and East, the collaboration between Western European countries and Eastern European countries. And is there any real collaboration, or there's still two parallel worlds existing in the same time? So I would like to start first this panel session with a short introduction of ourselves. I'm Violeta Simjanovska, and originally I'm from Macedonia, but at the moment I'm living and working in Finland. I'm head of arts management department. We have two master programs in arts management and music business. And I'm also working as an expert for European Commission, for UNESCO and for British Council. And I was very active in the Western Balkan countries, but also in Europe, so I understand both contexts. And today I'm moderating this session, and I'm very pleased to welcome our panelists. We have a little bit of change the panelists today are not matching all names that we have for the panel. So today we have a representative from Croatia, Mirko Burazer. Welcome.
Thank you.
Then we have a representative from Berlin, from Germany, Tim Jobien.
Yes, hi.
Okay. Then we have our co-panelist from yesterday, who is replacing Zorica Tepic because she was not able to join today. But we are very glad to have Balázs today because he has great experience in collaborative project, in European collaborative projects. And we have a representative from Turkey, Ahmetkan Taşdemir. Right. Did I pronounce well?
Almost there. He's fine.
Okay. So please, I would like to hear from you. How are you, first of all? And can you tell me something about your country? What's going on with your country? How is the situation with culture? What kind of support you have in your country for culture on the country level? Maybe Mirko, you can start.
Yeah, no problem.
And introduce briefly yourself.
Yeah. Hi all, my name is Mirko, I'm from Croatia. I work for Vimo Music Croatia, it's Croatian Export Office. And we also organize a showcase festival called SHIP. It's always happening in September, so if you like summer and coastal city of Šibenik in Croatia, so be aware of SHIP Festival in September. In our country, we established the Croatian Export Office 3 years ago now, in 2022. It was like some initiatives by some people before, but never ended with some structural, let's call it, company. We are established by the Croatian Performance Society, so it's like we are supporting artists through some co-financing the tours and showcase festivals. And yeah, that's pretty much in short of what we do in Croatia.
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about Croatia? How is the situation in Croatia in terms of financing instruments and support the government gives to cultural field?
Yeah, I think after the COVID, everything went on much higher and better scale, I think, in Croatia. We are supported by the Ministry of Culture through projects for the Export Office and for the Showcase Festival. And we are doing a project called IMO, which means Let's Go. We are in a cooperation with the Ministry of Culture trying to have some music program in smaller cities. That is not like everything in Croatia is centralized in Zagreb, in capital, but we are trying to decentralize the scene. And everything, that's one of the reasons why SHIP is, which is held in Šibenik, it's held in Šibenik. And I think in the last couple of years of being active in some project with ministry, I think it's going better. They have we have a great cooperation with them, and they are trying to resolve our problems, let's call them problems, but Yeah, we are supported from them, so I think it's for now it's good.
And any support from the city, local level? How is that?
Yeah,
relation?
we applied for some project from the city of Zagreb because we are doing it in Šibenik ship, for example, but we are doing the most thing with the Zagreb scene and everything. So we applied for the Zagreb city of Zagreb project, and we got it now. So it's not big amount of money, but yeah, we will do the job with the amount that we have been given. Yeah.
So it's sound quite good in Croatia at the moment.
At the moment, yeah, I don't want to interrupt that good moment.
Okay, good. Can you, Tim, tell us what's going on in Germany? You have 3 levels of governments, I know. How is the situation on national level, regional, and local level? How is the support? But please introduce yourself first, briefly.
My name's Tim Jopin, based in Berlin for over 20 years, with a background in, I think, artist management, now working in publicly supported but independent grassroots association of music industries. For me, it's interesting to come from a city perspective, as we only represent and connect on the local level with international partners, but also in the city. But I will try to zoom out a little bit. You say there's 3 levels. Berlin is 2 levels in one, so there's no regional, but it's the local. It's the same. But there's also national funding. I think what's interesting in Germany is there is a lot of fragmentation. I would say there's 2 national institutions that are active in funding for arts that have to do with music directly, besides like the big money going to still classical and big institutions. So there's always the fight to get a bigger piece of the cake. But so there's Initiative Music, which is more covering the pop side. And there's a Musikfonds, which is, I think, only 10 years, which is very much on the experimental jazz, new music parts, and electronics that is going in noise direction. That's the 2 national funds, but they are mostly focused on artists and in the beginning. So that was interesting to see whether that's album production or tour or promotion, or in the Musikfonds kind that's more creation and performance and adaptation with, so that's a little bit what they are doing. And only recently, last, I think, maybe also 10 years, Initiative Musik, they are pushing more in the export direction. So also they are institutionalized with support from the copyright societies, but the money is coming from the national government mostly. And I think there it's going quite well, and the budget gets increased more and more. They are under new management since last year as well. But always they are adding new programs, so there's festival funding now, but that's very focused on supporting what's in Germany, and also when it comes to export, it's very based in the country and not so much on collaboration because it's national funding, and therefore it has to bring back the money to this country. And I think that's a different perspective when we're looking on a European scale. Yeah, and I can talk about local level a bit later maybe.
Yes, okay, thank you. And from Germany we're moving to Hungary. And Hungary now it's in the front of elections.
Yep.
I hope for the good. And Balázs, you introduced yourself yesterday, but maybe in the audience we have different people, so maybe you can introduce again yourself and tell us a little bit what's going on in Hungary.
Yeah, I'm Balázs. I'm working for Hangvető, a music production company in Budapest. You might know us mainly, I think, about the project called Most, because that was mainly focused on this region. Also a beat which pin, shape, meant, So Alive, some others from the region are a member of. So, and like 10 minutes, until 10 minutes before the panel, I didn't know about the panel at all, so I'm still struggling to find out what our topic is. But, so situation about culture funding in Hungary. It's been so long that we have basically no funding in culture that we already forgot how it was to have one. It's basically connected to the fact that the current government's policies, at the heart of their vision of the world is sports. So basically every funding that was meant for culture before, it's now deviated to sports. Mainly football, obviously, because that's what they are really crazy about. And because of the feudal nature of the system, it's not just the governmental funding, it's also commercial sponsorship. Every company who wants to be in good terms with the government wants to, I don't know, if somebody was used to sponsor a jazz festival, and now they are advertising on a football jersey or in a stadium. So basically there is no commercial sponsorship either in culture. Everything is deviated to sports. So that's on the one hand is good because it's a good lesson in survival skills, survival techniques. On the other hand, it also taught us how to look for European funds. And the limited funds that are still kind of decided in a sort of transparent way through the National Culture Fund. It's quite small. It's small enough to be under the radar and not to be interesting for bigger players.
Okay, thank you. And from Hungary, we are moving to Turkey. And Turkey, it's how many years it's the candidate country for EU?
50 years.
Endless.
Since 60s,
Yes.
as far as I know.
Can you tell us what's going on there in terms of government support to culture? And please introduce yourself briefly.
Yeah, sure. Hi, this is Ahmet Can from Istanbul. I do have a...
Almost there for your name.
You were almost there, yeah. I'm a founder of Gülbaba Music and Gülbaba Records. I do have an indie record company for 5 years and a management and booking company for 15 years. Mostly exporting bands from Turkey abroad. We work with more than 60 different countries from Japan to Argentina and so on. And in the label now. So this is what Gülbaba is. And the situation, my answer is simple. We don't have any fundings or nothing. If the government or if the local authorities are not banning the artist, you are already supported. So, we don't have any fundings. Well, maybe for TV serials, because Turkey is exporting a lot of TV serials and this is a big part of cultural exports, so there might be some stuff there, facilitator there. Which I don't know about, but about the rest of even including popular music, there is no support mechanism, or there is even no a concept like this in the cultural policy, or maybe it's something which is even threatening the actual government to have a cultural policy which is connected with the rest of the world. So that's how the situation is now in Turkey.
Okay, it's quite different context we can notice even within this introduction. I'm living 8 years in Finland, and we're discussing now with our students the situation in Finland, and it's a kind of a dramatic changes for Finnish people who are working in Finland, because there is a tremendous cut this and next year. And this is happening in many European countries because of the geopolitics and the militarization that's going on in Europe, and particularly those countries that are part of NATO, We know that all of them, they have to contribute 5% of the GDP into NATO. And this is a huge amount, and obviously in many countries the decisions are made that those cuts will be the first fields, it's culture and next education. And I'm asking my students what you're going to do now, how you're going to see, because in Finland there was enough money for culture, so you just apply and then the country will support you. So it was not, you know, the welfare country, many organizations, they got support. Very little didn't, but majority, they were really feeling well. So now I would like to hear from you how you are seeing these moments, shifting moments, and how you see the European Commission support for projects. Are you looking for, what kind of solution you're looking for in this term? So there will be less and less money in the cultural field. All of us, we are attacked by that. So what we are going to do? What are the options for all of us? Can you tell us what maybe we can start from you?
Yeah, I used to be a journalist before I got to the music industry, and there I've seen this shift from, you know, print media, which people paid for, to online, which people didn't pay for. And then again, now it's mainly crowdfunding or subscription based. So there were new models appearing. I believe crowdfunding can be very useful in culture as well, for example, because it's a very different mindset. It's a very different kind of connection between the audience and the product, so to say. And culture, especially music, it's more like an emotion-based relationship than in the media. So this kind of fanship effect, it can be turned to like a direct funding, crowdfunding model more easily than in the media. So it's a different mindset. I think it's useful as an artist or as a management company or whatever to have a direct connection with your customers and not be funded from somewhere else. And then it's good if your revenue come from the people that you're serving. It's a clear-cut connection. So I think that can be like a pass through the future. And another one is that obviously, I mean, these times when military spending is rising and culture spending is decreasing, these are usually not the fun times. But in times like that, people need music more than ever, because we need connection, we need consolation, we need to lower our anxiety, and music does that. So it won't, maybe the consuming power is decreasing, but the need is increasing at the same time. So and it will remain with us. I mean, these tendencies will remain with us for the next, I expecting at least 3 to 5 years.
Thank you. Can somebody else share what are your thoughts, how you're going to cope with those cuts? And you mentioned when we were discussing before this panel that you have also experience with European Creative Europe projects. And is it one of the options how to deal with these challenges, those cuts and support for the ideas, the projects that you have?
Yeah, I think that's one of the ways, because not everything is pink in Croatia, of course. They are cutting also from the Ministry of Culture and some other cultural budgets and projects. But I have like, we applied for a Creative Europe project, but we didn't get it. But in that process, we learned some things about the future applications and everything. But we had luck, we got the Live MX project, which we made like tune-up project from it, because we in Croatia, we are in lack of music professionals. They are doing with the artists and festivals and everything. So we tried to push them to go to other showcase festivals to learn and to work for them. And after that, they came in Croatia and implement their like knowledge and time they spend outside abroad to Croatian festivals or artist management or everything in music business. So I think that's a great example of how we can help Croatian music professionals, and of course trying to get some creative Europe project in the future, if that will be possible, or even if there will be creative Europe. But yeah, we are finger crossed for that.
And maybe I would like to ask our member from Turkey.
From Turkey.
You said in Turkey there is
there
no
is
money.
yeah.
So,
What?
but how you're coping with those challenges? Where you're finding money for your activities?
Well, yeah, Turkey is very different from even the poorest country of Europe. Has more liberation comparing to Turkey. Turkey is big, but economy is bigger. Even if there are a lot of problems, there are 80 million, so there are different possibilities. But first of all, I'm trying to, for also my friends in Turkey who want to start that business, to the artist, the first suggestion I do is to be realistic. When we zoom out, first of all, let's take the music industry. Just compare 80s and 90s to today. Even in the US, it's smaller. Well, there is digitalization, there is this and there is that, and the assets are getting bigger. But as an industry, actually, it's a cool and hype industry, but it's getting small. So that's the first thing we gotta accept. Secondly, as I never worked with fundings or something, I always knew survival. Even if I have a successful business now, it's on my pocket. Maybe 3 years later, I do something else. I continue like this, I have to, otherwise, it will be disappointing. On the other hand, I also, from a philosophical level, I also believe that culture is human. And like as long as we continue this business, we have to find a way to make connections, which are and like with digitalization, maybe it's easier now. You can access some other artists and this and that, and find a way to be connected and to survive. This is what I could say. But on the other hand, for example, in Turkey, there are all major labels or very big promoters, but who also do advertisement for the state and so on. Or there are very indies working from home who can even not invoice or asking a friend to invoice and so on. We are maybe one of the only or one of the few companies who is like a mid-size with an office with 6-7 people working at the office and so on. But still coming to that kind of panels, making connections, telling the needs to your artists, and not all the artists need maybe an international career. Maybe it's very important to understand the need of an artist. One artist, he or she just wants to do a world tour, or the other artist needs maybe just to feed him or herself in the country. So the needs are different. What I want to say is that in Turkey, or maybe also in Macedonia, in some other countries, we cannot build up a strategy based on cultural fundings, this or that. But connection is important. Even if you cannot get a visa, maybe you can write to an artist, hey, I like your sound, let's exchange music, and let you are maybe also listened in the next country, or this and that. Still, to be realistic, these are the things, we can find some other projects maybe, but it is still maybe even less than 1% chance that as an artist or as an organization, you can be survival. That's the realistic part. But on the other hand, even in the worst situation of the world, there was great culture has been created. In the worst part of the history, some seeds of better cultural connections was already. So we have to see that way. And that's how I would approach from Turkey. So I feel lucky I still have a visa, I can still travel. But I just want to give an example. One of my artists, I think she's sitting there, she's from Azerbaijan. And by the way, she has a showcase tonight at 10:30 in Dancing Hall. Anyway, she got deported from Turkey because of the lyrics. And what she said, nothingness. There is another artist that we just released a track. It was a love song. Now he cannot leave Turkey. He cannot go out of Turkey. There was another girl band. They were just dancing like their friends from US and so on. They had to go to court because the dancing, it's not matching with our values or something. So the situation is terrible actually in Turkey. But there is nothing to do, just to survive and keep going as much as we can, and by being realistic. This is how I would approach also to my European colleagues. I hope even the 10% of it don't happen to your countries, but if it happens, that's the way. This is how I do approach.
Yeah. You mentioned one thing that we are going to address a little bit later, connection, which I would translate into collaboration, how it's important for our future work. But let's first see how you feel about Germany.
I think I was surprised as well, but our national commissioner for culture actually managed to increase the budget for 10%. But in the realization, that might not land on the music people, and also not on theater people. There's being some cuts. So even if budgets increase, despite like war threats, that doesn't mean conservative viewpoints are not cutting culture in the parts where we work. On a regional level of the city of Berlin, we are facing quite severe budget cuts in the cultural department. Our own organization has managed to have quite a stable, because it was seen as an association of creative industries. So we always talk about culture here, but most of the money I am able to give out to the music industry is coming from Senate Department for Economics. So the idea of regional support to infrastructure, like connections, what we do is like we try to enable people to meet. We don't give funding as much. That's why we believe like having meeting places at a conference or coming here is sometimes much more long-lasting than financing for one album, maybe. So, but Berlin has quite a big fragmented infrastructure, but also there it's a lot of fights for the budgets on political terms. And I see that collaboration is one way, but also I think people are afraid to apply with big bureaucracy. So having intermediate people who are able to translate bureaucracy needs into more creative industry or artists' language and also be approachable, I think that's something which is very important to see. Being afraid from bureaucracy, I see a lot in people, and I try to structure projects so it's very easy and direct communication. So that's a little bit how, yeah, those budget cuts are being treated, but also we try to go to European money, but not for Creative Europe, but rather like regional development infrastructure, which has been acquired by the city of Berlin and is very slightly, partly being used for innovation, meaning creative industries being innovation in this city development structure. It's very abstract, but I think understanding the conversation with also people working in administration, that they can support in the long run the economy if they use the language of European Union creatively. That's a little bit maybe, even if national funding is being cut and there has to be co-financing, it's a way to push a little bit in this direction, in my opinion.
Okay. I will go back now to the collaboration issue. This year I was working for European Commission. I was evaluating projects, and this year there was about 1,500 applicants, which was 3 times more than last year, for example. And this shows that there is a need, that in many countries those cuts are reflecting also in the number of applications at Creative Europe. And seeing those projects, I can see that there is always a preference in collaboration with some countries. For example, Nordic countries, they want to collaborate among themselves. Western European countries, they want to collaborate more about. And then Central and Eastern Europe, where Western Balkans is part, and Turkey, it's really rarely to see as an associated partner there. So I want to bring the question about this general policy that exists in Europe about anti-immigrants and otherness. And I would refer to Maria Todorova, Imagine the Balkans book, where she's really extremely nicely put this dichotomy between West and East, the differences. But we are in 2025, and it's really amazing to see that still there is differences and kind of a parallel worlds. So I would like to ask how you see this collaboration. You're part of now Croatia, although it's very strange for me to say that we are not anymore part of one country because we were in Yugoslavia, but you're now in European Union, we are not from Macedonia. How you see the collaboration now? I mean, for example, with Turkey, we are seeing that it's different context. So how to find a way to collaborate and not to be afraid, as you said before, to apply and to be open to collaborate with unknown, with the people that we don't know, with different contexts. Because it's obviously that we have to think about the new models of financing, and collaboration is one of the key terms that we need to really think, that why collaboration is important, why we need to collaborate. You extremely good give an explanation about that without collaboration we cannot be creative, and creativity is coming with this diversity and diverse opinions and creative processes coming from different angles of the world. So I would like to hear from all of you how you feel about this. From one side we have anti-immigrant policies, official policies in mostly of the countries in European Union, and the need of the art field to collaborate closely. And also the prejudice, stereotypes that we have for one another, for Western Europe, Eastern Europe, or Western Balkans, for example. We always put, I'm living in Western part of the world, Nordic part, and I sense on my skin many times stereotyping because I'm coming from Macedonia. So how you feel the collaboration? Do you have any challenge to collaborate with people around Europe and from Turkey, for example, or Western Europe? What is the challenge of this collaboration? Do you have any challenges?
We just talked before the panel. When we met, I just asked him if he knows some people that play already on our festival and everything from Turkey. So I don't see a problem with the collaborations. We are, what you said, in 2025, we are not in the 90s or something like that with our neighboring countries. So we collaborate with everyone. For example, I will take the beginnings of the Croatian Export Office. We had like 5 showcase festivals there Croatian artists playing. Now we have it like more than 40. So the collaborations are growing and will grow in the future for sure, because we are trying to open some other markets that we didn't have or didn't have a chance to explore or to play there or to collaborate with the people from their market. So I think for me there is no problem with collaborations, even better, because I met all these people here in last 5 years, I would say, and I don't see any problem with them, or I don't think that they see a problem with me, except Brane upstairs. So yeah.
Okay, and what about Germany? You said that before that people are afraid, but how you see this collaboration with the countries that you never collaborated before? Is there any challenge, any fear of going into unknown with the people from different countries?
I think it's different on institutional level to individual level, and also the level of professionalism, whether you're trying or you're already established in like local market. I think I used the example that a lot of music industry in Germany is too busy to work beyond themselves, to actually look across the border, and that's definitely ignorance, but also just how the companies are structured in the live touring market, at least. When we're looking at labels and publishing, I think it's much easier as it's no physical or not so many physical goods have to move nowadays. But so that's from the individual company perspective, as they are busy actually booking tours for people coming into Germany, but also German artists touring Germany, Switzerland, Austria. So there's definitely a language barrier in day-to-day email threads comparison to international people just using the language that they both know in the best way. I think we are trying to push to make people curious to come to places, but that also needs investment of time, dedication. We're trying to make them curious to meet people. And I think that's the philosophical point of actually having connection resonated with me a lot, and where the being afraid is okay, but if you make the leap, usually you come home with something new and something inspiring, and maybe also new friends. So bringing people to Berlin or going to places, for me, it's always beneficial. But the question is, where's the collaboration? How can we see when it's only the meetings? So like, for me, the collaboration is rather what's the work being done between those people that I need to dive into a little bit beyond the meeting. Yeah.
And Balázs, you're Central Europe. You're in between. So, and you were part of this European Culture Capital.
Mm-hmm.
Can you share with us if you feel any kind of challenges and differences in terms of education, skills, between those two Western and Eastern kind of parts of the Europe? I'm talking now about Europe.
Maybe not in that, not in education and skills, but where I feel difference, and I think that's why it's sort of rare to collaborate between more distant countries. It's that the challenges are different, and usually these projects, they are aimed at challenges, aimed at obstacles. So if we may share a taste, we may share many things, but if we are not experiencing the same problems, then we won't have the same creative ideas, because the challenges trigger creativity in a way. Also, I mean, in music, sometimes the projects are geographically defined. It doesn't make sense to organize a tour between Portugal, Latvia, and Albania, for example. It doesn't add up logistically. But we have projects with all parts of Europe, maybe due to our more central location. I think one of the issues now is that until a few years ago, Eastern European countries had bigger interest in going for European funds, but now with the cultural funding decreasing, Western European players are also started to be dependent on European funding. And I mean, you mentioned the number of applications doubled since last year. It doubled every year in the past 5 years, I think. So now when we most started in 2019, that was 6 years ago, and compared to that year now, I think it's 7-8 times higher the number of applications. And it's not just the number, it's also also the nature of the applicants. I mean, institutions which are big national institutions, they never applied before. Now we have to and it was basically a playground for cultural SMEs, smaller organizations, local organizations. Now we have to compete with Goethe Institute or Gulbenkian Foundation or the really, really big ones, which I think shows that even they need like additional funding to compare to the more predictable or comfortable funding from before.
Okay. And how you see from Turkey side this part of Europe in terms of collaboration? Do you find challenging?
You mean this part of Europe, like central?
Western. I mean the whole European Union, let's say.
Actually, I would come with two direct suggestions as having no fundings, no strategy, nothing, but who could survive and who could. First of all, I mean, there is now racism and anti-migrant, this and that. But we, as business music professionals, our mission in this life, first of all, is to be against it and find ways. And probably, we all think about it. Secondly, even if we want or not, there is cultural connection anytime. Probably the reason most of new Germans are drinking their beers outside because there was Turkish migrants in the 60s doing picnic in the 60s in the next to the factory. Or the reason that there is a hip hop in Turkey that, is that sorry. Yeah, okay. Agree. Thank you. Or the reason there is hip hop in Turkey because there was this band called Cartel came to in 90s to German Turk second generation came to Turkey, and then we all listened to that and so on. Even if we want or not, there is this cultural connection and everything. For example, or in the UK, look at Dua Lipa. I don't know. Look at Freddie Mercury. Like migrants bring and so on. So this is our mission first of all. Secondly, if I was a culture doer in Europe, what I would do? I would suggest two things. First of all, panels like this is very important. It's very good and so on. But still, it's very niche. We are talking to each other. We are talking about jazz projects and indie projects and this and that. And it's very important. Out of what maybe one of the 100 ideas will be the next popular thing, and it will change the popular culture for good. So we should keep doing this. But on the other hand, what I realized also in these cultural meetings, for example, when Istanbul was, or Turkey was popular, when we were asking if Turkey would make it to Europe, this moderated Islam would work or not, we were also, 15 years ago, Istanbul was one of the coolest city and so on. Istanbul was the cultural this and that. But still, like this bureaucracy and mechanism and so on, and it remained always under a certain traditional or very intellectual level, which is not super interesting for the rest of the society. Not everyone should be super intellectual or open. And then what comes? Popular culture, which I think all these organizations have forgotten about it, or maybe just the majors in just for their business they think about. But to influence the kids for integrity, for cultural collaboration, it should be popular. What I mean for this? I just saw a documentary. I didn't know that he was Turkish origin. Haftbefehl, the German Turkish hip hop player, Haftbefehl or something. Yeah.
Haftbefehl. Yeah.
He has 5 million, 6 million monthly listeners. He's selling out a lot of tickets. German kids are going to concerts and so on. But even in Turkey, we don't know about him, or maybe just the hip hoppers. So let's if I was a culture a player, let's say, I would do, okay, let's continue the intellectual meetings, but let's take this hip hop artist, and she has or he has 2 million monthly listeners. But there is also this artist from Germany or France. She has also 2 million monthly listeners. First of all, it's good for the artists. You know, it has a direct impact to enlarge the community and the market and so on. And then these kids who are listening to, or us who are listening to that kind of music, then we know, oh, did you see this? She's singing with a Turkish, or she's singing with a Moroccan, Malian, German artist. Then we have a proper example of, and direct example of the culture. Otherwise, what we see in the TVs is just boring politicians. Yeah, Muslims are doing, and the Turks and the Germans, and even us, we are manipulated. So I would say this, and my criticism in here, looking from Turkey to European bureaucracy maybe, it is, I mean, it's very good that there are all these foundations and people are thinking about it. But when it's coming too little, that, you know, even me as a business player, if I get bored, then, you know, like how we will, that would be maybe my criticism, or maybe to my suggestion for later on, and maybe take the artist more to the middle of this thinking, brainstorming together. That would be my suggestion.
Okay,
Sorry
thank
if
you
I
very
talk
much.
too much,
Yeah, thank
but,
you very much. That was my last question for all of you. The music business sector went and going in every second tremendous changes, and we don't know how this will go and how fast will change and develop further. From the other side, we are living in the completely shifting points, geopolitical and social, cultural, everything. So how you see future of the music business and what we need to do in terms of sustaining our jobs, our activities, and our ideas to come true. You mentioned new business models, you mentioned collaboration, but anything else that coming to your mind, that what we should think maybe about?
I can start.
Yes, please.
Yeah, we have been to some conference in Croatia. It's called MAC, and there was some like a panel about the strategy, Croatian strategy in music. I think we started everything with no strategy, but after some years we built some strategy for export office and for showcasing touring and everything. But I think that's a great starting point. I'm talking now for Croatia because I'm in that market, so it's easier for me to talk about it. And I think that's the great starting point for the future, because we started with no strategy at all. And after that, we are like the many, when you mentioned artists and everyone in Croatia, I think 90% of artists are like doing it hobby, you know. They are doing other jobs, they are paid for that and they live from that wage or salary, but they are doing music like hobby. So that's the, I think, the problem, because they don't have some budgets and financial security to start the music project as they will probably do if they have it. So I think that's the great starting point. So we will see. It will be done with the Ministry of Culture. So I think there will be some ways to export and collaborate with others to expand Croatian market.
Okay, thank you. Maybe key words and key things that you think are important to be taken into consideration for the future of the music business.
Well, what I see is, as you said, artistically, there's often multi-layered incomes that I see with like also established artists, but still in music. So like that's the one thing. The same goes for industry people. I see a lot of managements or booking agencies also looking into long-term like publishing income to be part of their things that they offer, because it's a bit more long-term opportunity. But yeah, so diversifying but still working with what is the core, that is the music.
Thank you. Balázs, you said before music,
Yeah,
new models, but
maybe I say something else now, which is maybe also related, that we might have created an impression like this Creative Europe thing would be over soon, or but it's not. I mean, there was a minute maybe last year when it seemed that it will be abandoned or melted into like some bigger economic competitiveness funding scheme. But now it seems that it will be, after 28, doubled. Not just that, also some other culture-related pockets like SERV and Erasmus and Horizons cultural sub-program. But that's the recommendation. It's not accepted yet, but we are hopeful that it will. And of course, it's doubles. It's a nominal doubling, because this 7-year cycles, it inflates away a part of the value every 7 years, of course. So I think it's important because, especially in this region, these European projects are the lifeline for many initiatives. And it's a question of survival for many of the people that we know here and work with here.
yes, but we need skills for that. Those who do not have experience, we need the skilled
Yes.
people to know, because the competition now is really high.
Yes.
And in order to get grants from Creative Europe, you really need to have proper application with all details in it. And for that, you need skilled people. So do you want to add something, because you summarize your ideas
I'll
about
talk
it?
too much. If you have a specific question, I'll answer
No.
that. But
Okay, thank you. And before closing the session, I would like to give a floor to the audience. If there are any comments or questions, is there any microphone or any wish to say something? Anybody? Did you digest your lunch nicely with
boring.
our discussion? Did we help you? There is? Yes?
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
If no questions, I cannot see anybody else. Okay, I would like to thank to all of you for your contribution and for your sharing, and also sharing the ideas.
Thank
You
you.
want to say something?
I want to thank you for
Ah,
moderating the panel.
Okay, but thank you very much, and thank you for your attendance here.